game is always good fun, Bob. But a passing game is a thing of beauty when it works.
I've always been more of a hitter myself, Jim. But just about any team can throw something down the pitch.
If they're snotlings, just make sure you don't try to catch it, Bob.
It pains me to say, but there's probably nobody better than an elf to tell us all about throwing the ball, huh, Jim? Hit it, Alyssa. Make it quick.
Thanks, Bob. Passing is the pinnacle of skills and grace on the gridiron. Once per team turn, a single player on your team may perform a pass action, even if they've already moved as part of their activation. The intended target square may be occupied by a standing, prone, or stunned player from either team, or even be an unoccupied square. The difficulty of the pass depends on the length of the pass, falling into one of 4 categories. Use the range ruler to see what kind of pass you're making. For a quick pass, just take a pass test against the player's passing ability. So, a player such as an Imperial Retainer lineman with a pass ability of 4+ will require a score of 4, 5, or 6 on a single D6. For longer passes, there will be a modifier to your roll. For a short pass, apply a -1 modifier to your passing ability test. For a long pass, apply a -2 modifier to your passing ability test. For a long bomb, apply a -3 modifier to your passing ability test. If your passing player is marked, apply an additional -1 modifier for each player marking them. Roll a D6 and apply any modifiers to the result. If you roll equal to or higher than the player's PA, you've nailed it. The ball, or other object, is placed in the square you're targeting. This is called an accurate pass. Now, that's a lot of modifiers, and sometimes it might seem impossible to get that perfect throw off. Thankfully, if you roll a natural 6 when rolling your passing ability test, you succeed automatically. A natural 6 is a single dice roll that scores 6 without any modification. If the passing ability test was failed, the ball will not be caught and is called an inaccurate pass. When this happens, the ball scatters. Using the random direction template, with the target square of the throw in the center, roll a D8. Place the ball in the new square that equals the number rolled. Then repeat the process twice more, with the square containing the ball in the middle of the template each time. If the passing ability test resulted in a 1 or lower after modifiers were applied, this is known as a wildly inaccurate pass. The ball will now deviate from the square that the throwing player is in. The steps to deviate a ball are: 1. Using the random direction template with the middle covering the square the player is in, roll a D8 to determine the direction the ball is going to move. 2. Roll a D6. This tells you how many squares in that direction the ball will move. These were the same steps we followed when kicking off. There's one final result, which is even more disastrous than a wildly inaccurate pass. If you roll a natural 1, you fumble. The ball bounces away, causing a turnover. To bounce a ball, use the random direction template with the center over the throwing player. Roll a D8 and place the ball in the square whose number matches your roll. As you play more Blood Bowl, you'll find there are some skills or situations in which you need to deviate, scatter, or bounce the ball. There are even times when there might be players in the way of where the ball moves. Be sure to check the Blood Bowl rulebook for more information. But for now, let's move on to passing interference. If the opposing team has any players at least partially under the range ruler when the pass is measured, they can try to interfere with the throw, knocking it aside or even catching it. The opposing team nominates one standing player under the range ruler and makes an agility test with the following modifiers, based on how well the passing attempt went. If the player is attempting to intercept an accurate pass, apply a -3 modifier. For an inaccurate pass, apply a -2 modifier. And for a wildly inaccurate pass, a -1 modifier. If the player attempting to interfere with the pass is marked, apply an additional -1 modifier. If the agility test is passed, the pass has been deflected. The player may now attempt to catch the ball and cause an interception, which we'll talk about in just a moment. If they fail to catch it, the ball will scatter from the square they occupy. If the ball comes to rest in an empty square or is caught by the interfering player, a turnover is caused immediately. After resolving an attempted interference, if the ball lands in a square occupied by a standing player, that player must try to catch it. If that player is on the same team as the player who threw the ball, even if they weren't the intended target, there isn't a turnover. Passing is only half the battle. You have to be able to make the catch, too. The difficulty of a catch depends on the circumstances. If the player is trying to catch an accurate pass, there are no modifiers. Just make an agility test for the player attempting the catch. To convert a deflection into an interception, apply a -1 modifier to the agility test. To catch a bouncing ball, or a ball that is scattered or deviated, you'll also need to apply a -1 modifier. Finally, if the catching player is marked, apply an additional -1 modifier per player marking them. Roll a d6 and apply any modifiers to the result. If you roll equal to the player's AG or higher, that player catches the ball. If they fail, the ball will scatter away and cause a turnover unless another teammate catches it. Sometimes your players end up next to the player they want to give the ball to and don't need to throw the ball to them. Instead, they can hand off the ball. A handoff action isn't a pass action, and there's no test to see if a player can hand off. However, the receiving player does need to pass an agility test, following all the rules for an accurate pass. If the ball ends up off the pitch for any reason, it'll need to be thrown back in. This is done using the throw-in template. 1. Position the throw-in template over the last square the ball was in before it left the pitch. Then roll a d6 to determine which direction the ball travels in. 2. You then roll 2d6 to determine how far the ball travels. 3. If the ball lands in a square occupied by a standing player, that player must attempt to catch the ball. If they fail or the ball lands in an unoccupied square, the ball bounces.
Yeah, throwing the ball's all well and good. But what if you break the legs of their catchers? Doesn't do much good then, does it, Jim?
You're not wrong there, Bob. And with that, let's turn our attention to the real meat of the game.
Yeah.
The brutal clashes at the line of scrimmage.